Hi there, this is Matt with State of Flux here with a review for Spider-Man Lotus. This is a fan film that received quite a bit of attention and positive buzz going into it, and then quite a bit of not that more recently. And I'll touch on that in a little bit. But I was kind of excited to see this movie back when it was first announced. I'm a big Spider-Man fan, and I wanted to see what this young kid had to do. It was a crowd-funded movie, from my understanding of it, and it was a 17, 18-year-old kid who was looking to direct this feature-length Spider-Man script as a fan-made fun platform for fans, and I gotta say, there's elements at play here that I really quite appreciated. I'm going to be upfront with the stuff that I liked, because this is going to have some criticisms for it. The number one thing that I liked and found refreshing, there was no true villain to it. They misled you very early on and then hinted at possible other villains with Shocker, and then the way that Harry Osborn kind of derails his life as seen from the comics. And that was all kind of for show. There's no true villain in this outside of depression. And that was kind of something unique and interesting. The other thing that I liked was that because they had a story without any villain, it was refreshing to have a Spider-Man movie that wasn't weighted with action. I don't think you necessarily need that with these superhero movies. It's what James Gunn's been talking about. And I think there's interesting things you can do with the superhero genre. Without having fisticuffs involved, at least all the time. That said, the performances in the film are fine enough, I guess. Based on the script they were kind of given. The biggest problem that I think this film suffers from is a weak script. The dialogue is okay when they're taking it pretty much directly from certain comics. Spider-Man Blue is very obvious with the voiceover and stuff like that. But when left to its own filmmaking needs, this very much reads so incredibly angsty. You can tell a 17-year-old kid kind of wrote this story because that's what it feels like. It feels like true drama as experienced by a 17-year-old, not somebody with weighted real drama. Not to say that it's not weighted, but the way that the drama is expressed comes from a place of angst rather than kind of naturalism. And the thing is the filmmaker was kind of going for naturalism, a grounded take on Spider-Man. The film has a pretty solid action beat early in the beginning, but then the action largely drops out. Now this is where I'm going to kind of talk about the positives of the filmmaking involved. I think this is a slick audition tape. This is a good audition tape as a director to showcase what you're capable of doing on a low, no-budge kind of production. Sure, some of the action scenes that do happen are against brick wall, that's not lost upon me, but if you were provided a sense of scale or the access to it, you can definitely go there. So there's that. But this film has been overbroiled with a sense of controversy after the fact. Controversy that I was not familiar with until after I myself had been exposed to watching the film. And yeah, knowing that the director made, and star of the film, made pretty disgusting racial and homophobic slurs, amongst other things, very prejudicial things. It's not only disappointing, it's probably career-ending. They have the leeway of being so young, but I don't know that that's really going to help them with something as weirdly high-profile as this got. And it's too bad, because the direction in this is pretty good. He probably wouldn't necessarily make it as writer out there, because there's an awful lot of saccharine to it. But yeah, I think had they lived in a world where they hadn't been exposed as such, this would have been a pretty strong calling for them, because as far as fan-made films go, it's one of the better ones I've kind of seen. But yeah, looking reviews of this online, people are fixated on tackling the filmmaker, stripping him down, both the filmmaker and the star, and you know what? I get it. It's not unearned. That said, I don't think crippling the person with just constant barrage of attacks and exposure of how racist they are is really going to be particularly helpful. Meeting vitriol with vitriol isn't necessarily the way to go. I think what needs to be said, and what I'm going to say, is I'm going to read to you from Stan Lee's soapbox, because I do hear that this filmmaker seeks out reviews, and if he catches this one, this is why this is included. This is probably something he should be hearing, both the star and director. So, from Stan's soapbox, written by Stan Lee himself, let's lay it right on the line. Bigotry and racism are amongst the deadly social ills plaguing the world today, but unlike a team of costume supervillains, they can't be halted with a punch or in the snoot or a zap from a ray gun. The only way to destroy them is to expose them, to reveal them for the insidious evils they really are. The bigot is an unreasoning hater, the one who hates blindly, fanatically, indiscriminately. If his hang-up is black men, he hates all black men. If a redhead once offended him, he hates all redheads. If a foreigner beat him at a job, he's down on all foreigners. He hates people he's never seen, people he's never known, with equal intensity, with equal venom. Now we're not saying it's unreasonable for one human being to bug another. But although anyone has the right to dislike another individual, it's totally irrational, patently insane to condemn an entire race, to despise an entire nation, to vilify an entire religion. Sooner or later, we must learn to judge each other on our own merits. Sooner or later, if man is to ever be worthy of his destiny, we must fulfill our hearts with tolerance. Now that's something that I think the director should hear, coming from Stan Lee himself. I do believe people can change, and his claim and his wave away was he grew up in an environment where he was not exposed to these other people, and all this stuff was exposed through, I believe, a Discord channel or whatever. But it's not ever going to not be relevant to the equation, because you don't want to be working with somebody who is outwardly bigoted or closeted bigoted. And when you have this knowledge and you look back on the film and it reframes in your head, the one black character that you are to assume is black, you don't necessarily know, is Shocker, and he is not written in the most pleasant way, and it is in true fashion the only true villain of the story, of the only physical menace. And that's disappointing. This is a movie of what could have been. What could this kid's career have been had he not held prejudice in his heart? What could this fan film have been if intolerance was not exposed to us? He could have gone out into the world, into the market, not being exposed, and started working with some high-profile people, and maybe he would have changed, but maybe he would have been outed at some point anyway. This is probably earlier to get it out of the way and it open before he's had a chance to really do any powerful harm beyond this fan-funded short film. But I don't know, for what it is, it's a decent short film in terms of its technical makeup. The acting is a little spotty. The screenplay needs a lot of love. But what did you think of this? If you don't want to give it the time of day, you're totally right to not do so. That is your right. But there you have it. Spider-Man, Lotus, I watched it, and apparently you can too. It's somewhere on YouTube. I will not provide a link. I'll let you discover that yourself. Have a good one. Everybody like, subscribe, do all that good stuff, and peace.